not only do I support George as a person, but I support George in his principles as well. I live in California now, but I was born just about 6 blocks down the street at St. Joe's and raised here and graduated another 6 blocks that way here in high school. And then also graduated from William Mitchell College of Law some years ago, but I gave that up and I became an actor. And so can't do much of that here in Minnesota, so I'm out in California, and I was in New York and did some Broadway out there. But the bottom line is you won't find a lot of actors out in California that believe like me, and that is the government has gotten too big. And if there's anything I can say, beyond just supporting George and what he does, is it's not going to happen overnight to get back to where we were. The cancer has run deep, and like a surgeon, we have to methodically, slowly, and persistently remove what has become a huge machine. And you can't take that apart in one day, you can't take that apart in one election, and we have to be patient and perseverant and persistent. So, not going to happen just this year. Good things I think are going to happen this year nationally. Hopefully in California to some degree. We've got a long way to go in California. But we got to stick with it. And we got to do it peacefully. We got to do it calmly, because the first option isn't an option. Because then we look like the radicals in 1969 who woke up and decided that wasn't an option. And they started to do it methodically and they took over the parties. We got to do the same thing. We've got to... Yeah, no, we don't. But we can legalize it and say, you know what, we don't need to control what people do to themselves. If we legalize it in California, I'm not going to use it. But that's fine, because what you do yourself is up to you. And another story for California. But bottom line is, we got to stay with it. It took them 20, 30, 40 years to get where we are today. Granted, some things had been done in the 40s and even back in the 20s, but we got to stick with it for a long time, and our children have to stick with it. Thanks so much, and support George.
And some of you know I'm an electrician. I do a lot of other stuff too, but...
Is that what happened to your hair?
That's what happened to my hair, yeah. It was one rough week, I'll tell you. Last week was pretty rough. A couple of things have changed in the world of electricity, and some of you have maybe heard me talk about this before, and some of this may end up on Tim's desk someday. In the state of Minnesota now, we have outlets that have little plastic windows on them. They're called tamper-proof. So the parents don't have to watch the toddlers with paper clips anymore, or a fork or a spoon. The electrician has taken care of the electrical safety in the house, so the parent doesn't have to be responsible. Brought to you by the heavy insurance lobby, I can guarantee. Another thing we're dealing with, and some of you have heard this if you haven't, here it comes. A lot of the houses we wire now, smoke detectors in every bedroom, smoke detector in every hallway, and we've wired houses where we have 5 smoke detectors in a 10-foot radius. Silly. Once again, brought to you by the heavy insurance lobby. One more thing, the latest thing that we've seen in our field, and this goes for most corners of construction, is it's now your responsibility to find out the age of the house. Was it built in 78? Was it built in 88? Was it built in 08? Because that matters as to how you deal with dust in the house, and whether you have to partake in things like lead paint abatement, and who has to be informed that you're opening up a wall or doing any work on this house. The list is never ending. The requirements are never ending. The permit fees for electrical and for regular construction, if you've built lately or had anything wired, you understand the fees and permits have gone through the roof. In Minnesota, part of the reason is that the State Board of Electricity was rolled into the Department of Labor and Industry, and upon doing that, my good friend, shouldn't call him my good friend, the guy I snowmobile with occasionally, Tim Peleni, his folks grabbed $4 million and threw it into the general fund, attempting to plug holes in Health and Human Services that are hemorrhaging, gaping wounds, and we threw a little 1-inch Band-Aid on it. After they stole $4 million from the Department of Labor and Industry, specifically the Electrical Division, they stole another 8. It wasn't theirs. It was generated by the construction industry, and they took it to cover things like, I don't know, Minnesota Care, or Maybe they used it for WIC, I don't know. Maybe they used it for the small immigrants up on the north side of Minneapolis. Anyway, that's enough of my beef with the state today.
You look back at payroll tax. Payroll tax is something that started in 1913. It's supposed to only be the top 1% of the wealthiest. This agenda goes back a good 100 years of where these people started from. And like you said, it's going to take work. I remember last year when we first had a tea party at Kiwanis Park, the place was packed, 400 people. Look what we've got now. It's hard to keep people motivated. Yeah, I find myself sometimes struggling with this. That it's hard. It's like you look at this and you send stuff out, and everybody's busy. I mean, Christ, I've been working 2 jobs trying to, keep stuff going. You're trying to be with your family, keep your house going, and everything else, and stick on top of emails and trying to keep up with the freight train that keeps coming out of Washington. It's not easy, and it is going to take some time. And I think for this generation, I've had to learn to get out of it. Of looking for the instant coffee is ready late. Of want something done now. And dealing with the want of having it just quick and easy. And I think that what I've had to find myself as I keep myself motivated is just realize that this is going to be a long haul work. If we can keep a ball going now and getting your kids taught. This thing that Doug said today, I had no idea that was even going today. Irritates the hell out of me. We got stuff like this that is being done, and what do we have on the front page of the newspaper today? What was on the front page of the newspaper yesterday? I bet it wasn't this. We've got the same agenda that has worked through Stalin, that worked through Mussolini, that worked through Hitler. The same way they came in power is the same. It gets the kids, the power grab with the kids. And if you can get a hold of them, you've got it. I mean, I find myself struggling with simple ideas that were taught in school, even from like the movies of Bambi. You feel sorry because an animal gets killed. Now, I'm not saying you just need to go nonchalant and kill everything. See, but the point of the matter is, you're afraid to hurt trees, afraid to hurt animals. We're losing touch because of stuff like this where we got the undercover agendas going. And the thing like what George said about the electrical permits, so much of these things are unseen that are killing us. I mean, I have a duplex that I rent out. Last year it was $24 a year for the rental registration. Each month I was late for that year, I had to pay that. This year here they moved up to $36 a year. Not happy about that. I can live with the $7. But now it's a $75 a month fine for every month that I'm late. Now, yes, I'm responsible to pay my bills on time. That's not my point. My point is the fact of how this stuff is getting in and affecting people. It is driving a lot of us really nuts to insanity by staying too busy, so we cannot fight this agenda that's coming through and stay busy with stuff like this. Stuff that's going to end up helping us and helping our kids. So I don't know about the rest of you. I know I said myself need encouragement on just staying plugged in, keep going, don't be afraid to send emails, and just do, like Doug said, just you want small parts. Look at the amount of taxes the government brings in. It's bit by bit. It's just small things. And we just stick to small things and stick to living by principle. I had to handle a family situation this last week based on principle. I didn't like to do it. I'm having to deal with it this week. It's probably going to take up 2 weeks of my time here. It's not going to be real pretty. But the thing that we need to come back to, we cannot give in to reasoning that sounds logical. We have to stick to simple principles. If it doesn't line up with a simple principle, it doesn't need to be done. That's all I got.
All right, thanks,